The first time I saw the new chore chart taped to the fridge, my stomach dropped because my name was on it like I was a roommate, not a daughter, and I stayed quiet while something in me cracked. I kept staring at those neat little boxes and bold marker lines, wondering one thing I could not say out loud yet. When did my home become a place where I had to earn the right to breathe? My name is Serafina. I am 17, and after school, I work shifts at a small grocery store that smells like rotisserie chicken and floor cleaner, the kind of job where your feet hurt and customers still ask you to smile. Before all this, my life was simple in the way only teenagers understand. I bounced between my mom and my grandparents. My grandparents had the same rules my mom did. Homework first. Text if you are running late. No strangers in the house. Respectful tone. Normal stuff. And because my mom's work ran late most nights, it was honestly easier to sleep at my grandparents' place a few days a week, eat dinner before 9, and not sit alone in an apartment listening for the sound of keys that might not come until midnight. Then my mom started dating Declan. At first, he looked harmless. He wore soft sweaters and called everyone ma'am like he was performing respect. He brought over store-bought cookies and told my grandparents how lucky they were to have such a responsible young lady in their lives. He laughed a lot, but it never reached his eyes. I noticed that early, even if I pretended I didn't. The real change began the week he moved in. I came home from a closing shift, my hair smelling like onions from the deli slicer, and he was in the kitchen with a label maker. He had labeled the shelves. He had labeled the drawers. He had labeled the spice rack like we were all going to forget what cinnamon was. My mom stood there watching him, tired but smiling, like she was grateful someone else was finally in control. New system, Declan said, tapping the label maker. Less chaos. I nodded because what else do you do when an adult you barely know starts redesigning your life like it's a closet makeover show? That night, he introduced house standards. He didn't call them rules. He called them standards, like I was failing a test I didn't sign up for. Standards meant I had to eat dinner at the table every night I was there, even if I got home late. If they were done eating, I had to reheat my food and still sit at the table by myself to keep the ritual. Standards meant my phone was not allowed in my room after 9. Standards meant my door had to stay open at all times unless I was changing clothes. Standards meant weekend mornings started with family productivity, which was his phrase for chores and errands and helping whoever needs help, which always somehow meant helping him. The first time I pushed back softly, he smiled like he enjoyed it. Structure builds character, he said. You'll thank me later. My mom looked at me like I was making her life harder. She had deep circles under her eyes, and I could see what she wanted so badly. Peace, someone to share the load, someone to tell her it would all be fine. So I swallowed my anger and told myself it was temporary. But it got worse quietly, like mold. One afternoon I came home and the Wi-Fi password didn't work. I stood in the hallway tapping my phone, getting that spinning circle of nothing, feeling my patience fray. Declan walked past me and tossed a new sticky note onto the counter. New password, he said. Only given after chores are done. It's a motivational tool. I stared at him. My chest felt hot. I have a research project, I said. It's due soon. He leaned on the counter like a judge. Then you should be motivated. My mom didn't even look up from the sink. She just kept rinsing dishes, shoulders hunched, like if she didn't witness it, she wouldn't have to choose a side. That was the first time I seriously thought about leaving. Not in a dramatic way, not with slammed doors, just a quiet decision forming in my mind like a seed. If this was going to be my daily life, I wanted out before it started shaping who I was. I called my grandparents that night, whispering into my phone in the laundry room with the dryer humming loud enough to hide my voice. Can I stay with you more? I asked. My grandmother didn't even hesitate. Baby, you never have to ask, she said. You just come. I felt tears sting my eyes, not because I was sad, but because someone had finally said a sentence that didn't come with conditions. The next morning, I told my mom. I kept my tone calm, like I was discussing my schedule, not my entire sense of safety. I think I'm going to stay at Grandma and Grandpa's full time, I said. It'll be easier with school and work. Declan looked up from his coffee like I had insulted him personally. My mom's face tightened. Is this because of the standards? I didn't want to say Declan's name. I didn't want to make it a fight. I just wanted air. It's just different here now, I said. And I don't want to feel like I'm constantly in trouble. Declan let out a soft laugh. That's called accountability. My mom pinched the bridge of her nose. Serafina, he's trying to help. Help. That word made me feel insane. Like I was the only one hearing the sharp edges under his calm voice. I'm not asking you to break up, I said quickly. I'm not asking you to change anything. I'm just asking to live where it feels normal. For a second, my mom looked like she might cry. Then her expression hardened like she chose pride over pain. Fine, she said. Do what you want. Declan's smile stayed in place, but his eyes went cold. I moved my clothes that weekend. My grandfather helped me carry a box to his truck, and the whole time my chest felt lighter, like someone loosened a tight belt around my ribs. My grandparents' house smelled like laundry soap and coffee. The TV was always too loud. My grandma always had snacks. Their rules were simple. Be honest, be kind, be safe. And I didn't realize how much I'd been holding my breath until I could finally exhale. I thought that would be the end of it. It wasn't. Declan started acting like I still belonged to his system. The first time was a text message. Family dinner tonight, 6 o'clock. You will be there. You will help cook. It is important. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering. It felt like he had reached into my new piece and tried to drag it back into his hands. I replied politely, I work tonight. I can see mom another time. His response came fast. Work is not an excuse to avoid family standards. We prioritize the unit. Like I was a missing piece of furniture he needed returned. When I didn't show up, he told my mom I was spiraling. He told her my grandparents were spoiling me. He told her I was disrespectful. Suddenly, my mom's calls sounded different. Not warm, classroom, not curious, more like interviews. Are you going to school? She asked one night. Yes, I said, confused. Are your grades okay? Yes. Are you hanging out with the wrong crowd? I almost laughed, but it came out as a shaky breath instead. What are you talking about? There was a pause. Then she said, Declan is worried. That was the second twist. He wasn't just controlling the house. He was controlling the story. I started noticing little things. My mom asked questions she never cared about before, using phrases that didn't sound like her. Personal responsibility, household harmony, family contribution. It was like she was reading from his script, and something happened that made my skin crawl. I was at my mom's place to grab a pair of shoes I'd forgotten. Declan wasn't home. My mom was in the shower. I walked into the kitchen and froze. The chore chart was still on the fridge, but my name was still on it. Not crossed out, not erased. Still written neatly in black marker, with new tasks assigned for the week. Deep clean pantry, organized garage, Saturday family service. I didn't even live there. My throat went tight. I stepped closer and saw something else, something small but sharp. Next to my name in tiny writing, Declan had added a note, attitude monitoring. I stood there, staring, feeling my face go cold. And for the first time, I understood this wasn't about rules. It was about ownership. I didn't rip it down. I didn't scribble on it. I didn't confront him. I just lifted my phone with steady hands and took a picture. Then another. Then I zoomed in so his handwriting was unmistakable. When my mom came out, hair dripping, she smiled like nothing was wrong. Do you want to stay for dinner Sunday? She asked casually. Declan has a plan. I looked at her, and I realized she didn't even know he kept my name up there like a target. Or maybe she knew, and she told herself it was normal. I work Sundays, I said. She frowned. You can request it off. Family time is important. I nodded slowly, because I could feel a plan forming in my own mind. Now, quiet, careful, the kind of plan that didn't need yelling. Okay, I said. My mom's shoulders relaxed. Thank you. I walked out with my shoes, my heart pounding, and I knew I needed proof of how far he was willing to go. Not for revenge that looked loud, for revenge that looked like truth. That night at my grandparents' kitchen table, I opened my laptop and started organizing everything. Screenshots, dates, written out in words in a notebook, every message, every demand, every time my mom's voice sounded like him. And then a notification popped up on my phone that made my stomach drop again. Declan added you to a new group chat. The name of the chat was one word, compliance. Quick real life pause. When I'm editing these late at night, I get tired, and your comments are what keep me going. Hit like, subscribe, and tell me your city, state, or country. All right, now let me take you back. The chat opened, and there it was. A list of expectations like I had joined some twisted club, dinner attendance requirements, weekend service requirements, a section called consequences. My hands started shaking, not from fear, but from anger so sharp it felt clean. I scrolled, and at the very bottom he had attached a file. Family agreement. I clicked it, expecting some dramatic lecture. Instead, my blood turned to ice. It wasn't a cheesy list of chores. It was a document, formal looking, full of legal-sounding language. And in the middle of it, buried like a trap, was a paragraph about access to my education funds and authorized decision-making. My grandparents had a small college savings account for me. Declan knew that. He had asked once casually, like he was curious. I had answered without thinking, because I didn't yet understand he collected information the way some people collect weapons. Now he was trying to put his name near my future. I stared at the screen, my mouth dry, and I heard my grandmother moving around in the next room, humming softly, completely unaware that a man across town was trying to sign himself into my life like a contract. I didn't cry. I didn't call my mom. I didn't text Declan. I just saved the file, took a screenshot of the chat name, and whispered to myself so quietly it felt like a promise. Okay. I stared at that word, compliance, and something inside me went very still. Not numb, not helpless, just focused. The way you get when you realize a person is not simply annoying. They are dangerous in a quiet, polite way. My thumb hovered over the screen. Declan had added my mom, me, and even my grandparents to the group chat. My grandparents had not replied yet. My mom had sent a heart reaction to his first message, like she was proud of him for being organized. Declan wrote, "This will reduce misunderstandings. Standards create stability. I expect everyone to support this. Support this." Like it was a school fundraiser, like it was normal for a grown man to title a chat after obedience. I opened the attached document again and scrolled slowly, reading every line with my jaw clenched. The words were dressed up in fake warmth, but the intention was sharp. There were sections about respect, about family contribution, about decision-making. And then there was the part that made my skin feel too tight. It said that any adult in the household could act as an authorized guardian figure if the primary parent agreed. It said that participation in family standards was required to receive ongoing support. It said educational savings would be discussed with all responsible parties. Responsible parties. Declan was trying to become a responsible party. I sat at my grandparents' table, the laptop open, my phone glowing, and my grandmother came in with a mug of tea. She noticed my face and stopped like she had walked into the wrong room. "What is it?" she asked, and her voice was gentle, but her eyes went sharp. I turned the phone toward her. "He made a group chat," I said. My voice sounded calmer than I felt, and he attached this. My grandmother put her mug down slowly and leaned in. My grandfather came from the living room, wiping his hands on a dish towel like he sensed trouble, the way some people sense storms. He read over her shoulder. His mouth tightened. "That man," my grandfather said quietly, "has no right." My grandmother's fingers trembled on the edge of the phone. "Why is he talking about your money?" I swallowed. "I think he wants control," I said. "Not just rules, everything." My grandfather stood up straighter, like his spine remembered a younger version of himself. "We are calling a lawyer," he said, and there was no question in it. My heart jumped. Part of me wanted that. Part of me wanted an adult to step in and crush this before it got worse. But another part of me, the part that had watched Declan smile through every boundary he crossed, knew something important. If we attacked him too early, he would twist it. He would paint me as dramatic, my grandparents as manipulative, my mom as a victim caught between two sides. He would become the calm hero, and we would become the chaotic problem. So I kept my face steady. Not yet, I said. My grandparents both stared at me. I took a breath that tasted like tea and anger. I want him to show his hand, I said. I want him to put it in writing. More than this. My grandmother looked like she wanted to argue, but then she nodded slowly. You want proof? She said. Yes, I whispered. I want him to feel safe. My grandfather exhaled through his nose. All right, he said, but we do this smart. No one is alone with him. Not you, not your grandmother, not anyone. I nodded because even hearing that made me feel less small. That night, I replied in the group chat with one word. Okay. I could almost see Declan's smile through the screen. He replied immediately. Good, this is growth. Growth. Like I was a plant he had finally watered correctly. My mom sent a thumbs up. Then she texted me separately. Proud of you for being mature. I stared at her message until my eyes burned. Mature. That word always meant accept what hurts you quietly so adults do not have to feel uncomfortable. I wanted to scream. Instead, I did exactly what Declan would never expect. I became the calmest person in the room. The next day, Declan sent the schedule for the week. He assigned tasks for my mom, for himself, for his niece, and for me. He listed times. He listed expectations. He even listed what tone was appropriate during family meetings. I read it all, then wrote back. Sounds good. Can you email the agreement too? It is easier to keep documents in one place. I watched the typing bubble appear. He responded, great idea. Organization is respect. Then he emailed it, not just to me, to my mom, to my grandparents, and to an email address I did not recognize at first. It was his niece's. My stomach turned. He was pulling more people into it, witnesses, allies, people who would back him up if things blew up later. I forwarded the email to my private folder, saved it, and took screenshots of everything. I started a little notebook, the kind you buy for school, and I wrote down each date in words, each message, each new demand. It felt strange. Like I was building a case file against a man who smiled at dinner. A few days later, Declan texted me directly. He wrote, Saturday is pantry deep clean. Arrive by 10. Wear comfortable clothes. No distractions. I looked at the message and my chest tightened. I did not live there. I had work. I had school. I had my own life. And yet he wrote like he owned my time. I replied, I can come by after my shift. It ends late afternoon. He wrote back, family responsibility comes before shifts. You can adjust your availability. That word, adjust, made my hands go cold. I did not argue. I did not explain. I just answered, okay. I will see what I can do. Then I did what I always do when I feel cornered. I went to my manager. I asked if I could pick up an extra shift that Saturday morning. My manager was happy to give it to me. They always need people. I made sure it was official, on the schedule, visible in the system. Then I waited. Saturday morning came. I was at work, scanning groceries, the beep of the register steady and loud, my apron smelling like plastic bags. My phone buzzed in my pocket again and again, but I did not check it until my break. There were messages from Declan. Where are you? We start on time. This is unacceptable. Then one from my mom. Are you coming? Declan is upset. I stared at the screen, my throat tight, and for a second I almost replied with the truth. I almost sent a paragraph about control and disrespect and how she was letting him treat me like an employee. But that would be loud, so I replied with one sentence. I told you I had a shift. It is scheduled. I can send a screenshot if you need it. Then I did something else. I opened the group chat and typed, I am at work. I cannot come until after my shift. This was already discussed. Declan responded fast. I never approved that. Work can be rescheduled. Family cannot. There it was. Approved. He thought he approved my life. My heart pounded, but my face stayed calm. I typed, can you clarify what authority you believe you have over my job schedule? The group chat went quiet. My mom did not reply. My grandparents did not reply. Declan took longer than usual. Finally, he wrote, you live under our influence. That comes with expectations. Under our influence. I read it 3 times. The wording was perfect. Not just controlling, but revealing. He believed he had influence like a right, like ownership. And he had just written it down in front of everyone. My grandmother replied for the first time, her message short and sharp. She does not live under your roof. Declan wrote, respect is not about roofs. It is about hierarchy. Hierarchy. My stomach flipped. My fingertips tingled. My grandfather replied, there will be no hierarchy over our granddaughter. Declan sent a smiling emoji, then deleted it so fast I almost missed it. A tiny crack in his mask. My mom finally wrote, let us all calm down. I could feel it. She was trying to keep the peace. Not because she agreed with him, but because she could not stand the tension. Declan knew that about her. He was using it, and that was my third twist, the one that hurt the most. My mom was not choosing him because she believed he was right. She was choosing him because he was persistent, and I was tired of fighting. That night, I went to my mom's place after work to pick up some mail that still came there. The house looked the same from outside. Quiet porch light, trimmed bushes, nothing to warn you about what was happening inside. When I stepped in, I smelled something sweet, like candles trying to cover a deeper scent of resentment. My mom was in the kitchen. Declan sat at the table with his laptop open like he was at a business meeting. He did not greet me. He just looked at the clock on the wall, then at me. You're late, he said. I held my mail in my hand like a shield. I was working, I said. He leaned back. You could have chosen differently. My mom flinched like his words had hit her too. I looked at her. Mom, can we talk alone for a minute? Declan's smile was small. No secrets in a healthy unit. There it was again. Unit. Like we were a machine and he was the engineer. My mother's eyes flicked between us. Serafina, just say it. she murmured, exhausted. My throat felt thick. I pulled out my phone and opened the group chat. I scrolled to his message, the one where he wrote about influence and hierarchy. I want to understand something, I said softly. Do you agree with this? Do you agree that he gets to decide my job, my weekends, my choices, even though I do not live here? Declan's face stayed calm, but his eyes narrowed. My mom opened her mouth, then closed it. She looked down at her hands. I felt a slow burn rise in my chest, not rage, something sadder, something like watching a door close. Declan spoke for her. She is learning, he said, nodding toward my mom. She sees what you do not. Without structure, you will end up like your father. My stomach dropped. He did not know my father. He had never met him. My father is not part of my daily life, but the word landed like a slap because it was designed to. He was trying to shame me into obedience by inventing a future where I became a failure. My mom's head snapped up. Declan, she whispered, like she finally heard the cruelty underneath. He shrugged. Truth is uncomfortable. I stared at him and forced my voice to stay calm. Okay, I said. Then I have one more question. He raised an eyebrow. Go on. I looked at my mom, not him. When you told me to be mature, I said quietly, did you mean follow his rules? Or did you mean you would protect me and you just forgot what that looks like? My mom's eyes filled. She pressed her lips together hard, like she was holding back everything. Declan's chair scraped as he stood. This is manipulation, he said. You are playing victim. I nodded slowly. Okay, I repeated because my silence was a weapon now. I turned to leave, and as I walked down the hallway, I saw something that made my breath catch. My old bedroom door was open. Inside, my walls were bare. My posters were gone. My desk was gone. Even the small lamp my grandparents had bought me was gone. Declan had turned my room into his office. A label maker sat on my old dresser, and above it, taped neatly to the wall, was a printed sign, Home Operations. I stood there frozen, feeling like I had been erased. Behind me, Declan's voice was smooth. It is more useful this way. We do not keep unused spaces. Unused. Like I was an object that had been stored away. I didn't react. I didn't cry. I just pulled out my phone and took a picture of the sign, of the office setup, of the label maker, of my room becoming proof. Declan chuckled softly. Documenting again? He asked. Good. Transparency is healthy. I turned my head just enough to look at him. Yes, I said. Transparency is healthy. And when I walked back out to the kitchen, my mom was standing very still, staring toward the hallway like she had just realized something too late. Declan placed his hand on her shoulder, gentle, possessive. We are building something better, he murmured. My mom whispered almost to herself. I didn't realize. I tucked my mail under my arm and headed for the door. Declan called after me. Sunday is family day. We will be discussing boundaries. I paused at the threshold and turned back with the calmest face I could manage. Okay, I said. Then I walked into the night and texted my grandmother one sentence. He turned my room into his office. I have photos. Tomorrow we talk to the lawyer. The next morning, my grandparents' kitchen felt like a command center. My grandfather had his reading glasses on, papers spread out on the table. My grandmother had made coffee so strong it smelled like courage. I sat between them with my phone, my laptop, and my little notebook. And for the first time in weeks, I did not feel like a kid being pushed around. I felt like a person with a plan. The lawyer my grandparents used was an older woman with a calm voice and sharp questions. She met us in a small office that smelled like lemon cleaner and old books. I watched her eyes move over the printed screenshots and the emailed agreement, and the photo of my old bedroom turned into Declan's office. She did not gasp. She did not dramatize. She just nodded, like she had seen this type of man before. This is about control, she said, tapping the page where Declan wrote hierarchy. And he is careless enough to put it in writing. My throat tightened. Can he touch my college money? I asked. The lawyer looked at me. Not without proper legal authority, she said. And even then there are layers. But he is clearly trying to position himself. That is the danger. My grandmother's hands curled into fists. How do we stop him? She asked. The lawyer leaned back. You do not argue with someone like this, she said. You take away leverage. You lock down accounts. You change passwords. You make boundaries official. And you communicate in writing only. I felt my pulse steady. That last part felt like the right kind of revenge. Silent, clean, professional. We spent that afternoon doing things that looked boring, but felt powerful. My grandparents called the bank and updated the account protections. They added extra verification and removed any chance of casual access. They updated their wills and documentation. They created a small folder for everything related to me, my schooling, and where I lived. My grandfather even installed a camera at their front door, not because we wanted drama, but because we refused to be unprepared. The lawyer drafted a simple letter. It was polite, firm, and devastating in how normal it sounded. It said that I lived with my grandparents full time. It said that Declan had no authority over me. It said all requests must go through my mother in writing and must respect my work, schedule, and school obligations. It said any attempts to pressure me into unpaid labor, canceled shifts, or mandatory attendance would be documented as harassment. Harassment, seeing that word made my stomach flip, but in a good way. It gave shape to what he had been doing. It turned his behavior into something real, something that could not be smoothed over with a smile. My mom received the letter by email late that evening. She called me right away. Her voice sounded raw, like she had been crying or screaming or both. Why are you doing this? She asked. I sat on my bed at my grandparents' place, staring at the ceiling, feeling tired down to my bones. Because he is trying to control my life, I said quietly. And you keep letting him. There was a long pause. Then she whispered, I didn't know it was that bad. I almost laughed again, but it would have come out mean. Instead, I said, Mom, he turned my bedroom into his office. He labeled it like I never existed, and he wrote about hierarchy like I am beneath him. My mom inhaled sharply. He said you were exaggerating. Of course he did. I closed my eyes. Did you look at the messages? I asked. Did you read what he wrote in the group chat? She went quiet again, and the silence told me everything. She had not wanted to read. Not really. Reading would mean admitting she had invited something ugly into our lives. I will, she said softly. I did not push. I did not beg. I just said, okay, that word again. It tasted different now. It tasted like control returning to me. 2 days later, Declan did what predictable people do when you remove their leverage. He escalated. He showed up at my grandparents' house. I was in the living room working on a school assignment, the kind of boring homework that suddenly felt like a privilege because no one was hovering over me. I heard the doorbell ring, one long press, then another, impatient, demanding. My grandfather checked the camera feed and his face hardened. It is him, he said. My heart jumped, but I did not move. My grandmother stood, smoothing her shirt like she was preparing for a meeting, not a confrontation. Do not open the door, my grandfather said. We did not. Declan rang again. Then he knocked, loud enough to be heard through the walls. The camera caught him standing on the porch with his hands clasped, a concerned expression carefully arranged like he was practicing for an audience. My phone buzzed. A text from Declan. We need to talk like adults. I stared at it, then showed my grandfather. My grandfather typed back, communication in writing only. Declan responded, this is unnecessary hostility. You are interfering with family unity. Family unity. Another costume word. My grandmother leaned toward the camera screen, eyes narrowed. He wants a scene, she said. He wants neighbors to see him standing here looking calm. He wants to paint us as the problem. My throat went dry. What do we do? I asked. My grandfather opened the front door just enough to speak through the chain, but he did not step out. He kept his voice even. You have been told, he said. You do not come here uninvited. You do not demand access to our granddaughter. Leave. Declan's smile flickered. I am not a stranger, he said. I am a parental figure in this system. My grandfather's face did not change. You are a man dating her mother, he said, and you have no authority here. Declan's eyes darted, checking the street, checking for witnesses. Then he did something that made my skin crawl. He raised his voice just enough to sound concerned. Serafina, he called. I am worried about you. Your grandparents are isolating you. I froze. That was a tactic. He was trying to make it look like rescue. My grandmother's hand touched my shoulder, grounding me. Her eyes said, do not react. So I did not. My grandfather spoke again, calm as a blade. We have documented everything, he said. Leave. Declan's smile returned, but it looked strained now. Fine, he said, stepping back, but this will have consequences. Then he walked away. I watched him through the camera feed until his car disappeared, and only then did I realize my hands were shaking. That night, my mom showed up at my grandparents' house alone. When I opened the door and saw her face, I almost did not recognize her. She looked smaller, exhausted, like the life had been drained out of her by constant peacekeeping. I read the messages, she said before I could speak. Her voice cracked. All of them. My throat tightened. Okay, I whispered. But this time it was not a shield. It was grief. She stepped inside and looked around at my grandparents' living room, at the family photos, at the safe mess of normal life. Her eyes filled. He told me you were rebelling, she said. He told me they were turning you against me. I swallowed, tasting anger and sadness. And you believed him, I said, not accusing, just stating. My mom nodded slowly. I wanted it to be true, she admitted, because if it was just you being difficult, then I didn't have to face the fact that I brought someone into our home who treats my child like a project. A sob escaped her. Small and humiliating in the way adult tears always are. My grandmother walked over and handed her a tissue. Not with warmth exactly, but with a steady kind of respect. My mom looked at me. He changed the passwords, she whispered. He took over the calendar. He made lists for everything. And I kept telling myself it was helpful. I stared at her, and part of me wanted to scream. It was never helpful, it was control. But I stayed quiet, because quiet was what made people hear themselves. My mom continued, voice shaking. When I asked him about your room, he said it was practical. He said you were basically gone, so why keep a shrine? A hot ache spread across my chest. My mom's eyes went hard for the first time I had seen in a year, and then I told him to put it back, she said. I blinked. You did? She nodded. He laughed, she said. He said I was getting emotional because you got to me. He said I was weak for letting a teenager run the household. My stomach twisted, but my mom was not done. And then, she said, he called my father. My breath caught. Grandpa? I asked, confused. No, she whispered. My father. The one who was never around? The one who used to show up, demand obedience, then disappear. Declan found his number and called him. And he told me that if I couldn't control you, maybe he should. My vision went blurry with shock. Declan had reached into her deepest wound to scare her into falling back in line. My grandmother's face turned to stone. That is unforgivable, she said. My mom's jaw trembled. I told Declan to leave, she said. I told him to pack his things. I stared at her, my heart pounding, not trusting it yet. He refused. My mom continued. He said the house is not just mine. He said he has rights because he pays some bills. He said he will not be pushed out by a child's tantrum. My hands curled into fists. Then my mom lifted her phone and held it out to me. I recorded him, she said. My breath stopped. You recorded him? I repeated. She nodded. I went to the bedroom and turned on voice recording, she said. I thought he would stay calm, but he didn't. He started saying things about you, about me. I took the phone with trembling fingers and listened. Declan's voice came through, low and sharp, stripped of his friendly tone. She is replaceable. Your daughter is almost an adult, but I am your future. Choose properly. I felt like I had been punched. My mom's face was wet with tears. I sent it to myself and to your grandparents, she whispered. I also sent it to the lawyer. My throat tightened so hard it hurt. Where is he now? I asked. My mom swallowed. I told him if he did not leave, I would call the police. she said. He laughed again, so I called them. My heart hammered. My grandparents exchanged a glance. The kind of silent communication that comes from decades of protecting a family. My mom looked at me, voice breaking. They made him leave for the night, she said. He is staying with his niece. Tomorrow I'm filing for a protective order if I can. The lawyer is helping. I sat down slowly, like my legs had forgotten how to hold me. For a moment I felt nothing but exhaustion. Then my mom took a step closer. I am sorry, she said. I am so sorry I didn't protect you sooner. I stared at her. I wanted to punish her. I wanted to forgive her. I wanted to be 17 and not have to carry this. So I did the one thing that felt honest. I missed you, I said, and my voice broke. My mom covered her mouth and started sobbing. And my grandmother wrapped an arm around her like she was holding up someone who finally stopped pretending. In the weeks that followed, everything changed in quiet, practical steps. My mom got her locks changed. She removed Declan from every shared account. She told her work she needed a schedule shift for safety. She started therapy, and for the first time, she stopped calling control love. Declan tried one last move. He emailed the family agreement again, attached with a message about reconciliation and unity. But this time, the lawyer replied, and the reply was calm, legal, and final. Declan's words did not matter anymore. He never got access to my future. He never got access to my college savings. He never got to make me smaller. Months later, my mom came to my grandparents' house for dinner, and it was just us. No charts, no labels, no hierarchy. The table felt like a table again, not a courtroom. My mom looked at me across the plates and said softly, I kept thinking I needed someone to run my life. Turns out I needed to stop handing the steering wheel to strangers. I nodded, throat tight, and for the first time I believed her. After dinner, I went to my room at my grandparents' house, my real room, the one with my posters and my lamp and my door that could close. I opened my laptop to submit an essay, and my email refreshed. A new message popped up from Declan. The subject line was one word: compliance. I felt my stomach drop for half a second, a shadow of the old fear. Then I clicked it, calm as ice. There was no long speech this time, no fake warmth, just a forwarded notification from the bank. Declan had attempted to access an account in my grandparents' name and had been denied. And right beneath it, attached automatically, was the bank's security record. It listed the email used for the attempt. It was my mother's email. I stared at the screen until my eyes burned. Then I walked into the living room, held up my laptop, and watched my mom's face go white as she realized the last thing Declan ever used against me was not my rebellion. It was her.